Every successful consumer product needs a good name. A great name, if possible. Walkman, iPhone, and then there's Omscolite. Ah, yes, well, these people have basically left no trace of themselves, so it's hard to say what reason they may have had for putting such a name on a radio. Is there a Mr. Omsco behind all this? And did they make bigger radios that are Omscos, and smaller ones like this that are Omsco-LITEs? Well, we can answer that question right now. Here's a radio that is a little bigger, and it's an Omsco Power pack. But here's another one, bigger still, and it's an Omsco-LITE. So I guess my theory is pretty flimsy. Let's see if there are any clues inside this one as to who these people are. No, the only thing I can see in here is that it calls for an Eveready battery, the clip for which is broken off. On the tuning capacitor, it says this: not Fuji Variable Capacitor Company Limited, FUJ. Well, that's pretty funny, because it really is supposed to be Fuji. Here's an ad of theirs with the same Mount Fuji logo that appears on the tuning capacitor in this radio. So, okay, a typo. On your product? I mean, you misspelled your own name on your product? Well, that is pretty funny, but before we get all judgy and feeling superior about it, let's have a look at this Chevrolet ad from 1974, selling the bicentennial line of Chevys in red, white, and blue colors to celebrate America's 200th birthday. Read that headline. This ad ran in several national magazines before someone noticed that the headline said, "A limited edition of Chevrolets in Amerca's favorite colors." Amerca. Ooh, now there's a typo. Let's look over this Omsco radio and see if it was made by the same people as the other ones. It says on the front of this one, all transistor 223, whatever that means. The dull brown trim pieces would have been bright gold when this radio was new. A coat of lacquer would have made them stay bright gold, as we see on many other radios like this. But I don't think the Omsco people thought it necessary. Well, it obviously was necessary. The volume knob is on the back on this one. That's something you don't often see. Inside, there's not much. I see 2 transistors, branded NEC, and 2 diodes. But in the way of labels or information, nothing. The Omsco mystique lives on. But let's get back to the Omscolite with the giant 7 on the grill. There's an older video on this channel about the transistor wars, those claims for ever greater numbers of transistors that peaked at around 15 or 16 in a pocket-sized radio. This is an early entrant into that contest, with 7 in a radio of quite small size. In those days, they were still trying to shoehorn the parts into these little things in various ways, and you can see on the side here the unusual earphone jack nut, normally a donut shape, which was made with flat sides, or I like to think shaved down to fit, along with the earphone jack itself inside the radio. And before we get inside the radio, have a good look at this. Made in USA. Well, that's unexpected. A radio like this, as small as it is, and that looks in every respect like a Japanese radio, is marked Made in USA. Well, I guess we'd better get inside and investigate. Inside the back, there is nothing to learn there. Now, this chassis, well, what looks American in here? Nothing, that's what. The speaker magnet even says Japan on it. The battery label calls for an Eveready battery. That's the most American thing in here, and that's only a word. The tuning capacitor says Sankaishi, Japan. The transistors say 10 on them, TEN, which my regular viewers will know is the major transistor maker, Kobe Kogyo. But no, Kobe Kogyo did not make this radio. It looks nothing like the radios they made, which are, frankly, a lot better looking than this little guy. Now, there's a story you may have heard about a city or area in Japan that was named USA, USA. The story goes that it was given this name so that products that came out of the factories built there could be said to be made in USA. I haven't confirmed this one way or the other, but what we are looking at here in this Omscolite may be just exactly that, because there's just no way that this is an American-made radio. Another possibility is that some shyster lawyer advised the Omscolite people that if they were to import radio cabinets from Japan and import radio chassis separately from Japan, they could put them together somewhere in the U.S. and claim they were made in USA. I like this story because, well, I just do. And I like to think that the filed-off earphone jack is a result of those shenanigans, and that the money they were going to make on this little deceit was all spent, and more, on paying somebody to get the earphone jack to fit. Ha! Serves them right. That's why I like this story. So, the big one. The big Omscolite. It says Japan in very small type at the bottom of the back. This is a radio made of that thick, brittle plastic I've seen on Yuko radios, sometimes branded Skymaster, and this Roxy radio. I don't know what this plastic is called, but it's not polystyrene or ABS, which I understand are the plastics most commonly used on vintage Japanese transistor radios. The metal front here is held on with little screws, and I like the honesty and utility of that. And you have no trouble gripping that tuning knob with the man-size ridges it has along its edge. For a radio with an all-metal front, I have to say I like it very much. But I like them all.